Of course, no visit to the Aberdeen Proving Ground would be complete without stopping in at its famous Ordnance Museum. More than 5,000 items of military equipment are on display in the Aberdeen collection, which includes a first-rate assortment of captured enemy equipment. More than just an army attic of old curios, the collection contributes to the perfection of new ordnance by making possible comparison studies with foreign equipment. The big picture camera is coming inside the main building, where we will ask Mr. Jarrett, the curator, to tell us about some of the items you may be interested in.
This is a copy of the World War II type American Jeep. It's rather interesting because it actually has a Model A Ford engine as the power plant. Now, if you'd like to see something else, we can go on down this way. This is a German V2. It's one that we obtained after the war from the Nordhausen assembly area. German V2 is a rather unusual type of rocket. It's a rocket that uses alcohol as a fuel. It is fired into the air, driven tremendous distances, about 200 miles. The apex of its trajectory is about 60 miles high. It's all done with a burner that you see here. This burner burns the alcohol in the presence of oxygen, and that is the method in which this great range was attained. Very, very interesting specimen, and one that attracts quite a lot of attention to visitors at the museum. This is a German Volkswagen. Actually, this is the amphibious type of Volkswagen. It's rather interesting because it's entirely made like a boat, yet it runs like an automobile. It's really quite interesting and is very seaworthy. One of the most interesting features is the spare tire, which is on the front. If that tire is not there, then the waves break over it. As long as the tire's there, you can take pretty good waves with it. It's really a lot of fun to ride around in, and the duck hunters down here always want to come borrow our boat.
Can we look at some of the tanks further down the line here?
Yes, indeed. We have one or two tanks down there that I think would be worthwhile having a look at. How about the Panther?
All right.
This is the tank to which I was referring. This is the German heavy tank known as the Panther, probably one of the best of the German tanks during the World War II period. It fired two very interesting projectiles because of their great power. The real power came from this unusually long tube, which you see from the turret. That gun was capable of causing a great deal of damage to enemy tanks.
This compared to what tank in the American Army during the Second World War?
Well, this is a tank that is hardly like the American tanks because we had an entirely different kind of tank. Our tanks were extremely maneuverable, whereas this was a heavy tank. Actually, this tank is quite heavy at almost 50 tons.
Will this tank still work, perform?
Oh, yes, this tank is in good running order. You'll notice the turret and the gun. It's quite capable of being moved without any particular effort. We have a number of other things because you've seen now a number of the heavier items, but I would like to show you some of the small arms. These are some of the smaller pieces in the museum to which I referred, a collection of submachine guns from the 1918 gun of the German Army on through to the modern times.
These are mostly foreign weapons.
Yes, they're mostly foreign weapons, although we have a few of the American developments during that period of time. For the most part, they are foreign weapons. Since you have seen most of the pieces here in the museum, I wonder if you wouldn't like to go out and see our artillery park, where we have both tanks and artillery pieces. We have quite a number of tanks here. They represent from World War I through World War II, and each one of them has developed some little point which we have found of interest. Sometimes these things are used to make our own tanks more powerful, or we know that our tanks are superior. Now, there are several tanks in question here. The one over there that is kind of light in color is our first heavy tank, in a sense that we introduced in the war by way of the British 8th Army in the Western Desert. A little to the left of that, you will see two breathers on top of a light tank. That came as a development from the earlier stages of the war, so that by the time the Normandy landings, we had a tank that could wade ashore and not be drowned out. A little further to the left, you will see a strange-looking vehicle that actually was one of the first of the self-propelled weapons with which we developed as early as 1916, believe it or not.
This is all just a part of the phase of work going on here at the proving ground where they test for the best.